All right. So my name is Amy Rutherford. I'm the Professional Development Program Manager here at AZA, and I'm helping to coordinate the webinar. I want to thank everybody who's here promptly, and just let you know we'll probably wait another minute or so as we get people that are jumping on or on but haven't called in yet, and get started in just a minute or so. But gold stars to all of you.
Hello?
Hi, thanks for joining. We're just giving a couple minutes for people who are still jumping on, and we'll get started in just a minute.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, I think that's enough practicing uncomfortable wait time. So as I said, my name is Amy Rutherford. I'm the Professional Development Program Manager for AZA, and I'm helping to coordinate this webinar today. And just want to start off with a few housekeeping items and logistics before I hand it off to our moderator and speakers for the afternoon. First, I'd like to extend a big thank you to Disney for making this webinar possible and for supporting the great work that AZA is able to do and to provide support to our members with their family nature clubs and other nature play initiatives through our grants program. The webinar today and this work would not be possible without their generous contribution. I would also like to make sure that everybody's aware of how things are going to go today. Once I pass the baton over to our moderator today, Janice Swaysgood, who's the Director of Family Initiatives at the Children in Nature Network, we're going to go ahead and mute everybody else just so that we avoid having any kind of background noise or feedback issues or anything like that. So if you have questions or comments or things while our speakers are talking, we're going to rely on the chat function, which you should see in a window on the right-hand side of your screen. There is a little drop-down menu that says Send To, and it'll default for you, I believe, to send to everyone. So when you drop down, you can choose to direct your question to everyone or just to me at AZA. I'm going to be kind of gathering all of the questions, and hopefully we'll be able to wait till the end. If there's a clarifying question, I might jump in just to make sure that things are clear. Otherwise, I'll be gathering the questions and saving them, and we'll be able to open it up to a Q&A for all of our speakers at the end of the webinar. You'll also have the opportunity to contact our presenters directly if you have more specific questions or things that come up. It's always the case, as soon as you hang up, you think, oh, I should have asked that. So you'll also see their contact information is going to be shared at the end of the webinar on one of the slides. And we are recording this webinar today, so we will be sending out that link for all of you if you have anything that you'd like to review, or to share it for others who are unable to make it today. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Janice, and we'll get started.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy. Really appreciate that warm welcome. So today's webinar is titled Family Nature Clubs Theory into Practice, and we're going to be covering information about just that, what a Family Nature Club is, who they involve, and why we should implement them, and then a few different strategies for doing so. We will also hear from 2 different institutions' experiences in implementing family nature clubs at their zoos and aquariums, and their recommendations based on their experiences. So as you already know, my name is Janice Waisgood, and I'm the Director of Family Initiatives, or the Natural Families Network, for the Children in Nature Network. We're a relatively small but mighty organization that is virtual, meaning we are spread all over the country, with our Executive Director living in Minneapolis. I'm in San Diego, and we have others in San Antonio, San Francisco, New York, and et cetera, all over the place. With us today, we also have Danica Strecko from the Vancouver Aquarium, along with her colleague, Nicole Strawn. And we also have Shireen Knowlton from the Roger Williams Park Zoo in Rhode Island with us. And we will hear from them in a bit, and they will introduce themselves when we pass the baton over to them. I hope that everyone is ready to jump in now. We are going to start by talking about what a family nature club is. So I thought it would be helpful if we had a shared understanding, as we define it anyway, at the Children in Nature Network. Basically, a family nature club is made up of a group of families that share a common interest in connecting their children and themselves to nature on a regular basis, and then they make it a priority to do so. The Children in Nature Network certainly did not invent the concept of family nature clubs. That's been around for ages, but they were popularized and became more mainstream after Richard Louv wrote about them in the bestseller Last Child in the Woods. For those of you who have not yet read it yet, I highly recommend that you do. The 10th anniversary edition came out last year, and it is chock full of reasons why people should get their kids outside and connected to nature for their health and well-being, and for that of our planet. We know that family nature clubs help to break down some of the most common simple barriers to getting out in nature that families report, such as getting nature back on the family calendar by providing a time and place to meet. Because of this, it's easier to schedule time in nature, which is what most people need to do at this point in our society. Ironic, right? We have to schedule unstructured time, but that's kind of where we're at. So we meet families where they're at in this venture that we have taken on. Families have also reported that they feel much safer when they're in a group of people, whereas they might not have gone out at all alone. Family nature clubs provide safety in numbers, both for stranger danger and the unknown wild world of nature that's out there. Families let us know that they feel safer also when they're with a zoo employee, because you all are trusted by nature. So it's good that you guys are involved in this movement as well. And family nature clubs are also a great hub of information for participants for where to go and what to do when they get there. So with that, we've covered some of the most common, easiest barriers to getting out in nature and how family nature clubs address that. So now we'll talk briefly about the benefits of connecting to nature. Nature play increases self-esteem and improves psychological health and reduces stress for both children and adults. Children tend to learn self-discipline and be more cooperative. In other words, children who spend frequent time in nature are happier. Nature play also improves physical conditioning and helps to reduce obesity and the associated risks, such as type 2 diabetes. So people who do spend time in nature tend to be healthier as well. Children also tend to do better in school and receive higher test scores. And they also tend to develop executive function at an earlier age and show increased mental acuity and focus. So in other words, they are smarter. Kids and adults who spend regular time in nature also show improved creativity and problem solving and negotiation skills amongst their peers. These benefits are just some of the highlight ones. There are many, many more that can most effectively and efficiently be experienced within the parameters of a family nature club. That's one of the reasons that we promote them and that AZA is promoting them as well. So now we're going to get into the how of starting a family nature club, which is why we're here today, right? So really as a grassroots effort, just moms and dads around the country, family nature clubs can be started just about anywhere by anyone and at any time. If you're an individual with a family on this webinar today and maybe this doesn't fall into your work parameters, maybe you want to think about starting a family nature club yourself. But for the purposes of today's webinar, we're going to focus on family nature clubs that are based out of a zoo or aquarium or any institution, really. This is kind of more of the institutional approach to family nature clubs. So you see on the screen a toolkit called the Family Nature Clubs NU Toolkit, and it boils down 3 basic approaches to starting a family nature club. One would be to partner with an existing family nature club in your community. Another would be partnering with a community organization to start a family nature club. And then lastly, if neither of those options are available, you could certainly start your own family nature club at your facility. We are going to quickly go over the recommended steps to create a family nature club, and then we will hear from Shireen and Danica about their adventures with all of this wonderful work. So to begin, most family nature club leaders dedicate about 8 hours to get their initial plans in place, and then spend about 2 hours. It starts to take less and less time the more experience you have, but I would allot about 2 hours a month on planning, marketing, and that kind of thing per activity. So that brings us to the first step, which is planning and organizing. You need to first of all decide what makes sense for your organization. Will you partner with anybody, or are you going to be on your own for this? Then you need to decide things like how often you will meet, how long your adventures will last, and so on. It will pay in the long run to plan and organize about 6 months worth of activities, and the Family Nature Clubs NU Toolkit has several forms that you can download and print to help with all of that planning. The second thing you'll need to do, and really this needs to be done in tandem with the first step, is to get people to support your good work in establishing a family nature club. So as you think about your own institution, you know who has the ultimate authority to give the green light. So you're going to need to make sure that they have buy-in for this work to happen effectively. Other considerations, of course, would include marketing and communications, risk management, and so forth. Also, don't forget about colleagues from within your own department. I'm assuming most of you are probably from education departments, but you want to garner the support of your colleagues as well. The more support you have, the easier all of this is going to be. Page 16 in the toolkit has lots of ideas and suggestions for how to spread the word. So you'll want to work with colleagues and partners on developing a marketing plan that is simple and effective. If you can, the best thing to do, the easiest thing to do is to tag onto and utilize communication systems that are already in place for your organization. And don't forget to include partners in this process too. One of the benefits of partnering with another organization is that you can both build on and grow your audiences through cross-pollination. In order to effectively plan out your family nature club, it's a good idea to scope out suitable locations. So you need to know your places and spaces, both on grounds and off grounds, that are near your institution and easy to access. One of the main concepts behind the Nature Play Begins at Your Zoo and Aquarium initiative is that when you're able to reach a very broad audience with built-in trust and security, you then have the opportunity to introduce your participants to nearby nature in the outside world too. The idea is that adventures will, when at all possible, take place both on and off grounds. You also want to make sure that most of the locations you choose have ample parking and or good public transportation when available and are child and family friendly. If you're going to be hosting a larger group, another thing you want to do is notify the park or open space to let them know you're going to be there and avoid conflicts in their calendar that way as well. The fifth thing you want to do is make it easy. Informed parents and participants are happy ones. Your workload is also going to be simplified by giving your participants consistent information about what to expect and how long to be on each adventure. Most last between 1.5 and 3 hours. It kind of depends on the audience you're serving and your own time allotted as well. I have found it helpful to create a template for the information I give so that I'm consistent each time I do give that information. They know exactly what to expect. There is a downloadable checklist for participants on page 24 in the toolkit as well. Once you're all planned and ready to go, let the adventures begin. It's a good idea to give a 15-minute grace period for late arrivals. And how I do this, instead of starting late, I still start on time, but I ask people to arrive 15 minutes early. So in other words, I would say something like, we'll meet at the trailhead at the north end of the parking lot at 9:15 in the morning for a 9:30 departure. And that gives people an idea of that is their grace period, and I have found that it really reduces tardy arrivals as much as is possible when you're working with families with kids, right? Somebody always has a crisis on the way out the door. They've got to go to the bathroom, or if they're a baby, they had a blowout or whatever. So there are always going to be tardy arrivals, but that does help facilitate less of them. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, you're going to want to dedicate time at each of your outings to facilitate nature play and unstructured nature play. This might be a new concept for some families. So families nowadays, we're kind of getting into a society where we need to have a tangible outcome, right? People want something to do, and they feel uncomfortable when they don't have that. So you need to be prepared to provide a gateway for newer families. Literally work this into your planned activities. So we need to help parents and other adult participants realize the importance of unstructured time to play. If you were unable to make last month's webinar on nature play, it was recorded, and I'm sure that AZA has the spot where it's recorded and available to watch. That was another good one, as was the developmental strategies in January's webinar. But when you're planning your outings, remember that you also need to stay flexible and know your participants. Don't overshadow their experiences with too much information sharing. You really want to pay attention to the dynamics of the group and of individual families and mentor them along their path to discover the magic that is in the natural world. I realize that was a lot of information, and it was, but remember, this webinar is being recorded, and I would encourage you to watch it again if you feel that would be helpful, and also share it with strategic partners and colleagues who might be on this road with you. I would also download the toolkit shown here if you haven't already. You can find it and all of the downloadable forms on AZA's website at www.aza.org/nature-play/. Lastly, you want to be sure that once you have your Family Nature Club up and running, and this goes for those of you who already do, who may not have done this yet, please register them with the Children in Nature Network's movement directory at the website that's on this screen. We're trying to capture the good work that everyone's doing and also help people find you when they are in search of Family Nature Clubs. Okay, so I think that's enough of my advice. Now we are going to hear from two institutions that have implemented Family Nature Clubs themselves. First, we're going to hear from Shireen Knowlton about the collaboration between the Roger Williams Park Zoo and an already existing Family Nature Club called Rhode Island Families in Nature. After her presentation, we will hear from Danica Strecko and Nicole Vaughn about how the Vancouver Aquarium got their Family Nature Club up and running. So without further ado, I will pass the mic to Shireen. Give me one sec.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Thanks for having me, everybody, and thanks for organizing this, Amy and Janice. We're really excited to participate in this webinar today. A little history first. we have been fortunate to have a family nature club here in Rhode Island since 2009. We had, the zoo had actually co-hosted an event at which Richard Louv spoke the previous year, and Janine Silversmith, who was a mom here in Rhode Island who had experience working actually with the Bronx Zoo, was really inspired by what Richard had to say about these clubs and decided to launch a club, and it took off very quickly. She likes to tell folks that the first hike that they did, it was only her family that showed up, but by the second hike, she had 25 families show up, and the third hike, they had 50 families participating. So it became popular very quickly. And then a few years later, in 2012, our zoo opened an exhibit called Hasbro's Our Big Backyard, which was a very unusual space for us at the zoo in that it didn't include any animal exhibits. It was all about free choice play and nature play. And the picture on the bottom of the slide is actually a shot of the backyard space. There are areas like the Drip Drop Water Garden, Creativity Corner, there's fort building over to the right at the Sticks and Stones building zone, and then there's a tree house in the background you can see, and then beyond that there's a whole bunch of more organic and wild areas for kids to explore and play in. One thing that you can't see in the exhibit is the house, so it's sort of our house and then our backyard, and inside the house we have a room that's set up as a nature swap, and I don't know if everyone is familiar with nature swap programs, but it's a program where we teach kids how to responsibly collect from nature. We have some guidelines that we ask them to follow. They join the nature swap program, and then they're able to bring in items that they've collected in nature and speak with our play partners, and then are able to get points for the items that they brought in, and also points for the information and sort of the background behind the experience that they had when they collected that item. They can bank their points and save them up for larger items, or they can trade them in right away for items that they see in the room that other kids have brought in. So when we started the Nature Swap, one of our goals was to get families that are coming to the zoo to go out and explore beyond the zoo's fence. We wanted them having nature experiences beyond their zoo visit. So the Nature Swap was a way for us to do that, and we launched something called Quests that first year, where families could go and we would email out what the monthly quest was, and families could go out and have some nature exploration or nature play outside of the zoo, report back to us either with a photograph, a journal entry, something they collected, and then they would get bonus points in their Nature Swap account. So that first year that we launched it, we did a couple of the families in nature hikes as our quests for the month, and they were pretty popular, but we really didn't have the capacity to do much more than that. And then we'd received the grant that Amy was talking about at the beginning, the wonderful support from Disney, that the grant program that AZA facilitates in partnership with Children in Nature Network, and we were able to formalize this partnership with the existing club, where we were able to do more frequent play dates and more frequent hikes. And we wanted, Janine, who runs Families in Nature, Rhode Island Families in Nature, was very interested in increasing the amount of nature play that was happening at her events, and we were interested in getting folks off of zoo grounds and exploring nature. So each of us had something that we were hoping to gain from this, as well as cross-promoting to each other's audiences. So we started doing one hike a month, or one family play date a month with Rhode Island Families in Nature. And then what we realized at the end of that first year is that the folks that were participating, it was great. We both saw an uptick in the number of participants. We had more nature swappers signing on. Janine had more people attending her events, but they were still sort of the same familiar faces, and we felt like these were folks that might be accessing this kind of opportunity even without our facilitation. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was great that we were able to support them and hopefully grow their investment in this sort of activity, but we really wanted to reach some lesser served audiences. so in the second round of grant applications, we wrote a proposal, and it was funded, to partner with another organization here in Rhode Island called Children's Friend. And this is a social service agency that works with families with different kinds of needs. And we created a program called Dads in the Park, and we worked with them. They provided basically the audience and the infrastructure, and then we provided the programming opportunities. So these are dads who have either recently been incarcerated or have just recently gone through drug or alcohol rehab, and they're now trying to sort of rebuild relationships with their children. And so they have a number of different programming opportunities that they sponsor, or that they provide, you know, like I said, the infrastructure for these dads to work on building those relationships. So we offered our program as a vehicle for that as well. So that's the program that we've been working on this year, and we've maintained the nature play dates that we were doing each month as well. So things that we've learned, it's been an amazing experience partnering with Rhode Island Families in Nature. We have learned some lessons along the way. The first one that I wanted to talk about is just designing activities that are accessible and easy for families to replicate without our facilitation. We wanted, again, our whole goal in this is to have folks and have families grow their investment in outdoor exploration and nature play. So it's great that they do it when we're there. We also want them doing it beyond that. Just like we wanted them going beyond the zoo's fence, we also wanted them doing this beyond the facilitated opportunities. And then the second lesson is that partnering with an organization or agency that can provide an audience and infrastructure is a great way to reach new participants. Like I said, the first couple of years that we were working with Families in Nature, we both realized that we were sort of seeing the same faces, and we wanted to really expand that reach. And working with Children's Friend, which was a social service agency, like I said, was a great fit for all three partners. So it really has helped us in that regard. And then the last one, and I think this was touched on at the beginning of the webinar, but working together, each of our organizations, so Rhode Island Families in Nature and Roger Williams Park Zoo, has gained new followers and participants, and it's really strengthened our program. So Janine will have folks show up for some of her programs that weren't familiar with Nature Swap before, and then they contact us and they come to the zoo and sign on as Nature Swap participants, and vice versa. We'll have folks that come to Nature Swap, we'll send them a quest, and they'd never heard of Rhode Island Families in Nature and start participating in her hikes and in her play dates. So it's been a really wonderful relationship for us, and we're excited to continue with it. And I think that's everything I have. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Danica. Let me just find out how to do that right here.
Can I pick it up?
Hello. I think should hopefully be all unmuted as well now. Just as a little bit of history to how we got started. The first Vancouver Aquarium Wild Family Nature Club started on November 2015. And our manager of children's programs, Nicole, who is also here with me today, attended the September orientation in Calgary and then began planning Vancouver's club when she returned. So there's a couple of photos up here of some past nature clubs and some activities that we've managed to do. Sorry, trying to figure out how to change slides. And then once that got off the ground, Vancouver Aquarium has a large children's department. So as staff of that department, I was offered the opportunity to help plan and lead the club. So that's how we got started on our zoo and aquarium-based club. We started the club through the Vancouver Aquarium, which was great, just as Shereen mentioned, because it gave us access to promoting the club to past children's programs participants and Vancouver Aquarium members. Another group that we've had a lot of attendance from is homeschool communities, and so the Vancouver Aquarium Children's Programs does offer some clubs for homeschool groups, and we've had a lot of success getting the word out on their message boards, and so they're able to come and participate in our programs as well. It can always be a little bit of a slow start. So our very first one that was at the end of November, only one family of 3 attended, but I'm very excited to see that now by our 7th meeting on March 11th, we had 35 participants signed up. So that was really excellent to see that kind of grow and change. We have several regular attendees that come, as well as seeing new families each time we offer program as well. Just kind of diving right in and then adapting our meetings through the feedback of both regular and new families helped us adjust our programs as we've gone along. And that lines up really well with our mission for creating environmental stewards as well. So that's a really nice tie-in between our children's programs and our Family Nature Club. Then going into the logistics, Nicole manages the program taking care of the many office components, so she makes sure that things are posted on the calendar so people can find out about us, as well as our website through the Vancouver Aquarium, and she answers emails, inquiries, and communicates with families that want to start their own clubs, which we're starting to see a little bit more and more of. I am super lucky because I get the fun part of choosing the locations, creating the activities, and going out with the families during the club meetings. This works out really well because there are minimal costs to running the program. As paid staff, my wage contributes to the cost, but so far advertising from the club has all been free of cost through social media, message boards, and word of mouth, and of course that really huge help by posting to homeschool message boards as well. Currently, all of our meetings have been in the park and accessible through public transit or paid parking. We are starting to explore moving outside of the park where we'd bring carpooling in as an option, and of course kind of laying out transit options and making sure that we're in transit accessible areas. So we've been talking a little bit about meeting at the P&E grounds near us, as well as other kind of city central locations. Our meetings outline is always posted to the website, so I'm going to bring up an image from our website. So it's a little bit tricky to see, but there's a link to go check out it online as well. And this has just been an invaluable tool for communicating with families about what's going on, and we've really found that the more detail that we put on there, the better and better response we have from families. So currently our program is a 2.5-hour program 2 times a month on the 2nd and 4th Fridays, and we lay out everything from suggested parking locations, closest transit access, what to bring, warm gear, snacks, as well as a detailed outline of the route that we'll be taking as well. Now, this is great to present all of this information. There are a couple of other ways to do this. Some groups can use Meetup as well to get that kind of word out and have a little bit more interaction. But just kind of any way of posting that information and something that parents and families can check back with consistently is really useful. Contact information for both Nicole in the office and day of for myself out in the park has been a great help as well, so people can text or call me if they're running late or if they're not quite sure where we're meeting up, or even that just day of, you know, their child got a cold and they can't make it that day. Our club so far has involved walks through Stanley Park to locations of ecological interest such as Beaver Lake to go visit a beaver lodge, wetland locations around Lost Lagoon, as well as explored low tide areas around the park, and sometimes just going out and rolling over nurse logs and seeing what's under there. So as we've kind of added more and more locations, some different free nature play, it's been really neat to kind of, again, bring in those suggestions to help families get some ideas of what free nature play can be. So I've created seasonal scavenger hunts and bingo cards for families to use, as well as suggested games like Hug a Tree. We had a spontaneous musical band form with a group banging sticks and bark together, which was really excellent, and they sung songs and marched down the trail. Depending on the activity, sometimes extra materials are needed, so some things that have worked out really well so far are lightweight clipboards that I've just made with a cardboard file folder and a bulldog clip, having a couple of extra spoons and plastic containers with me as well for digging either in sand or on the forest floor. And recently I made a batch of homemade Play-Doh so we could make some nature stamps. It was really neat seeing the kids plant little gardens and find different ways to use Play-Doh. They often come up with way more things to do with just a few simple items than I could even plan for. So after all that and all that fun, some things that I've learned through this process is to have something planned, and then just kind of let it run free. As I said, nature play will take people in different directions, so it's really always enjoyable to just kind of see what strikes their interest once we're in the location, as well as being flexible with activities based on the age of the participant. So whether it's going on a longer walk, which might be great for kind of 5-year-olds to burn off a little activity. We then also, on alternating weeks, will have something that's just in one spot, so it's really easy for people to meet and explore that one area, and then being less physically active really brings in the kind of 4 and under crowd a lot of the time as well. And one of my favorite things that I've learned is to really just get started, dive in, post meetings, hang in there while things look like there's not a whole lot of attendance, and just kind of keep finding new avenues to get out the word, and families will jump in. We've really been excited to see lots of people coming out for our programs now. So that's all for me. I'm gonna pass it back to Janice.
Great, thank you so much to both Shireen and Danica for your presentations. That was very informative for me, and I hope that it was for the webinar participants and people who listen on later as well. I wanted to kind of close today's webinar with a quote from a Family Nature Club participant who said that nature is amazing for families and it brings families together. Nature is beautiful, and the more you're out in it, the more you respect it and love to protect it. I think this is a great note to end on, because I think a big part of why we do what we do with families and kids is, along with all the other benefits that come with that, we also are able to cultivate the next generation of environmental stewards and zoo educators and conservation biologists and people who make responsible decisions when they're adults. And that is what we're doing by virtue of this work. So for more information on Family Nature Clubs, and research supporting family nature play, I invite you to visit CNN's website at www.childrenandnature.org. Again, you will also find the link there to register your club under the Connect drop-down menu on that homepage. Again, I want to thank everybody for their participation, and we will turn it over now for any questions or discussion that folks might have. So, Amy, I will let you take it from here, and you can either make the questions general to any of us or specific to any one of us that they are specified for.
Yeah, great. I have some questions so far, so we'll leave it open to any of our presenters who'd like to weigh in. How can environmental educators make a family nature club experience or outing unique from other family-friendly programs at their location? So from other family programming maybe that the zoo and aquarium or institution offers.
I'll go ahead and start off with that, and then let Danica and Shireen chime in, and Nicole also is on the phone as well. I think that by virtue of creating, when you have a family nature club, you start to cultivate and create a community also. You are going to have those regular faces, which are good to see. You'll have faces that kind of come in and out also, but by virtue of incorporating nature play and helping to educate the participants, the adult participants, as to its importance in their children's health and well-being, and again, that of our planet, I think that in and of itself is another message that people can learn. And by incorporating free and unstructured play as zoo employees and aquarium employees, you are setting a standard that this is something that's important, so much so that you're making time for it. So Danica, Nicole, Shireen, I don't know if any of you have anything to add.
And I unmuted you guys. Sorry, I wasn't letting you chime in before.
No worries. So actually, Danica had to run off because she's got a bunch of youth here for a camp today. So this is Nicole. I'm the manager of children's programs here at the Vancouver Aquarium, so I'll answer all the questions on our behalf. So for us at the aquarium, we don't really have any family-based programs that have a leader other than just general interpretive presentations that happen throughout the day. So for us, Family Nature Clubs give us a chance to connect kind of with the parents and the families on a whole, rather than just the children that come to our children's programs like camps and clubs. And also, for our Family Nature Clubs, to make it a little bit different, they're all happening outside of our facility, because we just find in the facility there's not a lot of space for large groups to be moving around, and families are quite happy to explore the aquarium on their own. So we just meet near the aquarium and take them outside, and it's completely different from what we do, but we provide kind of that safety and the organizational side that the parents might be a little hesitant to provide on their own.
And this is Shireen, and I just want to echo everything that you both said. And also for us, this is the only program that we have in our portfolio that truly spans not just generations, but if you have a family with children of multiple ages, it still fits. It works really well. So a lot of our other programs are geared for the children, even though you might have an adult accompanying them, or it might be a drop-off program with just the children. But this is the program that we have that really engages the entire family, like Nicole said.
Great, thank you. I haven't seen other questions come in. I'm going to go rogue and unmute everyone, since it seems like we didn't have any feedback issues coming through. So if anybody would like to share another question through chat, or would like to speak up and ask any questions of our presenters, the line is open.
Is anyone charging a fee for your Family Nature program?
This is Shireen. We don't. Our programs are all free.
And from the Vancouver Aquarium side, I played around with the idea at first about charging a fee, and the only reason I was thinking about it was because I wanted to take them into the aquarium first and maybe explore some of our habitats here and then go outside. And it doesn't always work out so well to bring in a bunch of people into the aquarium for free when everyone else has to pay to enter. And we didn't go that route because we really wanted it to be accessible to any and everyone that was interested. And we've been able to fund Danica's role as a leader through some funding with the Canadian Wildlife Federation that really supports these programs here in Canada.
And I can speak to Family Nature Clubs in general. We have some that are registered with the Children in Nature Network that are free, and we have some that charge enough to cover their own costs of things like liability insurance if they want to charge that. See the whole spectrum of free to low cost to more expensive for bigger adventures. So it works both ways, I think.
And
Can I ask?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, what do you do with the inclement weather? I understand running the programs if it's just raining a bit, but have you had to cancel programs, and how did you do that?
This is Shireen. I can jump in with that. We've only canceled one time. We've actually gone out in the snow, in the rain. We had one really intense snowstorm that really wasn't going to be conducive to getting folks to the site that we were using that day. One of the things that we do find, though, is because for a lot of families, this is they're dipping their toe in the water when they come to our programs. These aren't families that have a lot of experience doing things outdoors together. So those families do tend to shy away. Our experience has been that those families do tend to shy away in inclement weather. So we've tried to be cognizant of that, and we have been scheduling more of the programs in the spring and the fall and the summer, and being a little bit more careful about programming in the winter. We still offer those programs, but we know that attendance may be a little bit lower if the weather's not what folks are hoping, just because they're apprehensive about it. But we still, again, we've only canceled once.
Yeah, and here at the Vancouver Aquarium, we've had pretty much the same experience as Shireen. We've started our club just as the weather was starting to turn here in Vancouver, which was more of our rainy season, and we found that we would have a lot of families register, but as soon as the forecast switched to rain, they wouldn't show up. But we do have a few families that they're very into being outdoors, and we encourage them to just bring their jackets, and we go out regardless of the weather, and we just tell them to be prepared for whatever weather that we might have here. And I'm hoping that it'll catch on more and more as the families start to share their experience.
And I have a club here in San Diego as well. It's not currently associated with the zoo. We've canceled things as well. Here in San Diego, it was not for snow, it was for heat, and it was a camping trip to the desert, and it was just going to be literally too hot for camping, so we did cancel. And we notify typically, well, for camping we notified a few days in advance, but if there is going to be a cancellation due to bad weather, we notify either the night before or the morning of, depending upon what the weather is actually looking like. But like Danica and Shireen, and Nicole, we also tend to encourage people who are okay with a little bit of weather. I'm not talking about the real horrible stuff, but I like to say that kids dry off and clothes wash clean from mud and so forth. So we encourage folks to get out if it's not too bad.
Great. Thank you all for that.
Yeah. We did have a follow-up, I think partially based on Shireen's response for the first question, which was asking for some specific examples about how you involve parents and adults in the nature play programming for these clubs activities.
Yep, that's a really good question, and that's something that we've been working on through trial and error, and it's actually one of the things we talk about the most when we debrief after any of our programs. And one of the things that we found is that we create opportunities for exploration where the parents and children, or the adults and the children, can work cooperatively, and then or ask an open-ended question that they can sort of explore and then discuss together as they're going through the experience. Sometimes Janine will start the program with a game where the parents are asked to participate and are involved in one way or another. But I think what I meant by that is that when we have any of the other programs that we offer here at the zoo where we have an adult accompanying a child, the content and the format of the program, for example, our Preschool Adventures class here, is really geared toward the child, even though the caregivers are there in the room or in the space with them, and they might help with a craft or something like that, but the content and the activities are all designed to be specific to 3- and 4-year-olds. Whereas with this program, because it is so open-ended and because it is sort of learner-driven, the family units that come really sort of develop their own programming, I guess, while they're out there with us. And so if you have a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old, it works for you, and an adult. If you have a grandparent and a toddler, it works for you. So it's because the program is so open-ended and there's something out there for everyone in nature, which we all know and appreciate, it's not something that the adult's not just tagging along, the adult is getting as much out of it as the child, if that makes sense.
for us, I met Janice in Calgary at a bit of a training session in September, and she actually gave some great advice on just when the program starts. And I know Danica has been using this and has had a really good experience with it. Just getting the kids to identify that their parent is who is in charge of them and who they should be listening to and responding to, and so that just kind of puts the leadership back on the parent that they are still responsible for their child, and Danica's just there as a guide for the whole group.
Great. Do we have any other questions for our presenter? All right, well, we'll go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank everybody for attending and for asking some great questions, and especially to our presenters. Thank you to Janice and Danica and Nicole and Shireen for sharing your expertise with us. And as you can see, their contact information is up here on this final slide if you'd like to take that down to get in touch with them in the future to ask questions or share your successes with hopefully the family nature clubs that you'll all be growing at your zoos and aquariums. We'll be in touch with the link for this webinar as well as some of the ones in the past that Janice mentioned may be good resources for you as well. And thank you all for coming, and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.